Okay, cool. Hey, Felipe. Okay, let's get started. So I want to talk about finding your story. So this week, our our assignment was to find the story in our past of a myth that was broken, right? Something that we thought to be true turned out to be false. By the way, if you're a Night Owl Nation member and you worked on this assignment and you want to share your story, if you want to come on live and share your story and I can give you feedback, just do a request so you can come live with me and then you can share your story. Hi Saima, hi Alexandra, Nourishing Pharmacist, hello. Hi everyone, welcome. So I want to talk about like how, because I've been reading your stories like in the assignment, and there's few common mistakes that I see, so I just want to go over it. And if you have any questions about like how to find your story, like how to know if you have a good story or not, or something like that, just put it in the comments or put it in the questions tab so I can. Vivid Decafe asked, "How do you know where to focus your eyes when streaming in two platforms?" I usually don't really think about that. I guess what I do is I try to keep my eye on the comments. Hi, Richard. Yeah, so I don't really pay attention to that much. But when I do a Zoom, I have a whole setup here with teleprompter. So when I do a Zoom, I can look at the teleprompter and it looks like I'm looking at the camera. So that works. Okay, so if you have a question for me, just put it in the sticker tab here, and then I'll answer it. Okay, so how do you find your story, right? First, I just want to say again, if you're joining now and you're a Night Owl Nation member and you have a story that you want to share, you want to come on and you want to share the story, and then I can give you feedback, just do a request. I can do that. Okay. So one common thing that I see, one common mistake that I'm seeing is, I always say this, right? There has to be I call this the 5-second rule, okay? And it's the 5 seconds of conflict. Your entire story, your entire story, you have to be able to put it in this 5-second window, meaning give me the 5-second, like the 5-second movie scene of that story where you can explain, okay, where were you? You know, what's around you? Like, you know, you can visually say, who are you with? Where are you? What did it, like, you know, the what, when, where, and with who? Like, if you can't tell me those things, then you don't have a story. Because people tend to just go like, oh yeah, yeah, I went to a yoga class and this is like, and then I realized this and blah, blah, blah. Okay, that doesn't mean shit. Like, if you're trying to sell yoga and you're just saying, oh yeah, I went to yoga class and it was life changing. Like, okay, everyone says that. I want to know the exact 5-second moment when you had that realization, because that's what the story is all about. The story is that 5-second, like, because okay. So what I've been saying is it's like the point when you realize that myth has been broken, right? If you look at all of my posts, every one of my posts has a point where, okay, I thought this to be true, myth, but then it turned out it's wrong. This is true, right? Myth and truth. There has to be an exact moment when that was broken for you. What's up, Tyler? There has to be an exact moment where I'm like, oh, that's the exact moment when I realize, or that's the exact moment when that reminded me of, or something like that, right? So try to come up with that 5-second rule. Okay. All right, let's go into questions now. Okay, No So King asks, how do you manage your content with respect to interest? I guess I don't really manage my content. You know what? Like, if you guys are not following me on Twitter, if you're not following me on Twitter, you're missing out. Because basically what I do is I dump every time I have a piece of thought, every time I think of something, every time I want to just make a note of it or something like that, I just tweet it. I don't even think about it. I just tweet it, tweet it, tweet it, tweet it. So if you want to know exactly how my brain works, how I'm coming up with ideas all the time, like, cause I just tweet it. And actually, for those people that hate social media, the people that are like, I don't like engaging, I don't like commenting, I don't like all of that shit. All you do is just post and ghost and post and ghost. Like, for those people, this is what you're missing out. I get majority of my content ideas just from replying to, like, looking at other people's posts, looking at their comments, see what people are saying. Like, you need to have your pulse. You need to have your pulse, like, finger on the pulse of the internet. You need to have your finger on the pulse of your audience, what they're thinking about. You know what I mean? Like, because what's gonna happen is when you look at like when you go to posts of people that are in your niche, right? And you look at their comments, you look at what they're posting, and what are the things people are talking about. You'll kind of figure out exactly what people want to know, right? Or what the mistakes they're making. And reading those comments is what gives me inspiration to think about, like, oh, I need to talk about this, and then I post it, right? So I actually get most of my ideas that way. But yeah, I don't overthink my content. I mean, you notice, right? If you look at my content, right, it's not like I just talk about storytelling. I talk about like all bunch of shit. Right? The other day I talked about like survivorship bias. And the other day, I talk about imposter syndrome. I talk about fake gurus. I talk about all different kinds of shit. It's not like I talk about just one topic. You know what I mean? So yeah, for everyone that's like, oh, I need to hyper niche my content. It's like, there you go. Do I look like I'm hyper niche in my content? No. Okay. Let's move on. I'm gonna bring on Britt here, so we can do a little bit of kind of role play, I guess. This is what we do on small groups. So how Night Owl Nation works is every week I give an assignment, a prompt, where you have to come up with a story, and then you're gonna go to your small group and you're gonna tell that story. And when you tell that story, your small group members are gonna give you feedback and like kind of show you what you're doing wrong and what triggered them, what came up for them or something like that. Hey, Britt, if you wanna come on, I'm trying to accept your invite, but it's not working for some reason. Okay, let's keep going. I'll answer another question here. Hey guys, if you guys have questions, please put it in the thing here, because this comment's like just scrolling up too fast, so I can't read it. And if you're joining in now, we're kind of doing Q&A or sharing stories, and then kind of me giving feedback. So if you want to share a story, just send me a request. If you have a question, put it in the sticker tab. Okay. Mark Creator, can you find the story in anything, and how can you craft from something very basic? The way the way I say is, try to go back to a memory, a vivid memory that you remember. Okay, because what's gonna happen is, here's the problem, right? Whenever I say, oh, share a story and then put it in the structure, what most people do is the first place their mind goes to is their business. It's like, oh, like let's say I teach yoga. It's like, oh yeah, like like this is what happened, and the first time I went to yoga, and then they automatically try to connect it to their business. Do not do that. Do not do that. Start from the memory that you have of the story first. Do you know what I mean? Because, for example, like my first job, I've been trying to quit for a long time, but it was like getting harder and harder and harder and harder. And what ended up happening is I kept delaying it until eventually, hey, Britt, delay. Yeah, let me just finish answering this question real quick. So I kept delaying it until finally I went to, give my boss the 2 weeks notice. And then when I gave my 2 weeks notice, he was like, oh, like, like you were too good for here. Like, actually, I'm congratulations. And he was actually very supportive. So I was worrying for no reason, right? And the thing is, I remember that moment vividly because it was exactly when he said that. And it was like literally less than 1 second. I went from here to here. I went from, oh shit, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared, I'm scared. Oh, what if he said, he gets mad at me, blah, blah, blah. And then as soon as he says congratulations, I'm like, huh? That's what happened, right? That's the 5 second rule. That's the 5 second moment. So you didn't like, there was an exact moment where you went from here to here. Okay? And that's the moment I'm looking for. And if you don't have that, you don't have a story. Okay, let's move on. All right. Hi, Britt. Good to see you. Thank you for coming on. Oh, yeah, just say it. Is that what the movie was about? The dairy? Okay. So what do you think is the 5 second moment? Well, yeah, okay. Awesome. I love the story. And there's like something amazing there. But I'm not just gonna accept it. I'm gonna dig a little bit deeper, okay? I need the 5 second moment. Was the 5 second moment when you were watching the movie when you were learning the information? Or was it afterwards in the dinner with all the people? Because and why? Because the movie already told you that it's like veganism is the way to go, right? Like that. Uh. But why didn't you come to that conclusion during the movie? Because I'm assuming the movie is what told you all of that, right? Ah, got it. Okay. So I wanna tell you something. So why do you think there was a difference between those two? Why do you think that you had all the information, you knew all the knowledge, but you didn't do the switch until that dinner? So what do you think exactly it is about that? It was the human aspect. It was the okay. So I'm gonna ask you back. So was the myth truth really that uh, vegetarian versus veganism, or is there something else? Is it something like in order to change people's mind, or in order to inspire people, you don't do it by shaming them, judging them, you know? But do you understand where I'm coming from? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. So can you can you can you restate the lesson again now? Yeah. And the lesson is okay. In short, the lesson is no. You're overthinking it. That's a lesson that you already knew. You already knew all of that information, but you never changed. Here's the real lesson. Okay, this is why I need everyone to go deep, 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 and really okay. The lesson is you can't change. Hey, Rob. The lesson is this: you don't change people by telling them to change. You change people by you doing you doing your thing and inspiring. Like, so you don't change people by shaming them, judging them. You change people by inspiring them. And that applies not just to veganism. That applies to leaders. You know, this is what I talked about with Rob last week. Is, you know, we were talking about, oh yeah, like these people just don't get it. Like, why won't they come to small group meeting? If they just understood how amazing this small group was, blah, 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 blah. But the way we can get them to come to small group is not by shaming and judging them, how the those activists in the streets that are like, you know, like putting blood on, like, you know, like that's not how you do it. All that's gonna do is just push people farther and farther away from veganism, right? How you actually do it is kind of like how that group did it. where, do you understand what I mean? And that's how, exactly. And that's how you inspire people. And that's how you inspire people to do anything, pretty much. And I would argue, that that was the real lesson that you learned. Oh yes, that's the lesson. Like the way you change people is not by telling them to change, but by killing them with kindness. Something like that. Exactly. Awesome. Yeah, I want. Thank you so much for coming on. Yeah, I want everyone to kind of look at that and think about it, right? Because like I think when you really bring yourself there, without any kind of okay judgment, ego, any kind of expectation, because a lot of times when we do storytelling, we're like, okay, how do I tell the story and tie it to this lesson? Blah, blah, blah. So we start overthinking and we try to make up stuff. But a lot of times when we just bring ourselves there, we'll find that there is like a real lesson that we learned. Thank you. Okay, let's bye. All right, let's move on to more questions. Okay, I want to answer a few more questions before I bring up the next person. Sorry, YouTube, if you because you can't see the interaction on Instagram. Okay, next question. Safer, smarter choices. How do you pull these stories out? When I try to think of stories in my mind, mine just goes to blank. How do you jog your mind? Okay, so the way I do it is now I let people trigger the story. One of the most amazing thing about storytelling, about the small groups and Night Owl Nation, is that when you're in Night Owl Nation and when you're listening to other people's stories and when you're giving back, whenever you listen to other people's stories, you're gonna be like, oh, that reminds of this one time in my life, blah. Okay? And this is why the small group is so important. Because that being in that small group and hearing other people's story is what's gonna trigger you to come up with your own stories. So this is why I'm constantly telling you that you have to share your story. When you share your story, it triggers that person to come up with, oh, that reminds me of this one time. And when they tell their story, then you're like, oh, you know what the lesson I took away from that is? That's kind of like this. And that's why you need to constantly do that, right? If you just want to sit in the dark and come up with your own story, you can do that. But then you need to go into your memory bank, your past memory, and really think about, okay, like what were those moments? Because there were those moments when you vividly remember, and the reason why you vividly remember those memories is because something happened. You had a change of heart. You're like, oh shit, I was so scared, but this happened. That's surprising. Oh, that was surprising. Some sort of an unexpected outcome, right? Oh, I thought this was gonna happen, but actually this ended up happening, or something like that. But the best way to come up with story is by listening to other people's story, and and I also I guess I also get a lot of ideas from movies, watching documentary, or listening to podcasts is where I get a lot of ideas. Because whenever I listen to a podcast and somebody starts talking about something, like, okay, I just gave you a live example right now, right? When Britt came on, and Britt told a story of how she was inspired by that group of people, blah blah blah, like that immediately triggered a story in my head of like having another conversation with somebody where they were having a hard time trying to get their small group member to come show up, and it's the same thing. It's as an activist, you trying to get people to change, right? And as a small group leader, you're trying to get your small group leader to show up, or let's say me as a teacher, I'm trying to get everybody to come up to this live. I'm trying to get everybody to come to my class. I'm trying to get everybody, okay. So you can sit there and you can like shame, judge people, yell at people and be like, hey, come, why aren't you coming? Or you can just inspire them. By without shame, without guilt, just by being human without any kind of judgment, right? By making them want to do it. Also, another thing that I took away is this. Like, another thing that triggered from that story that Britt was telling me is she said something very specific, right? She said, we were the only ones that was vegetarian. Everybody else was vegan, and we were the only ones that were vegetarian. There's something to that, right? Because that's just gonna happen. Like when you create an environment, like for example, if you join Night Owl Nation, and so the way we can get people to new members at Night Owl Nation to show up and tell their story, share their story. If you want people to share their story, if you want people to do their assignment and share their story, what we need to do is we need to tell some bomb-ass stories. If everybody at Night Owl Nation is sharing some bomb-ass stories, and then a new person comes in, they're going to be like, shit, everybody here tells some bomb-ass stories. I'm the only one who can't. And that's the thing that's going to inspire them to want to learn more. If I sit there and be like, I can try to convince all you want. I can be like, oh, if you tell stories, you can use that to sell. You can use that to grow your Instagram. You can this. Oh, I can tell you all that one. No, none of that shit is going to go through your head, right? But as soon as you come to Night Owl Nation and we're in a room of 10 people and 9 people are telling bomb-ass stories and you're the only one who can't, that's when you're really going to want to learn, right? So like, I don't know, just connecting the dots like that. Whenever you hear other people's stories, that's going to get you to come up with a story. Okay, design with Dickens. How can one marry every story to their brand without sounding forced? Don't even think about that right now. Don't even try to connect your brand to your story. What's going to happen is when you do that, it's going to come out forced. It's going to come out like, every story you tell, like that's how it is, right? Every time I see a story on Instagram Reels or Instagram, blah, 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 all this brand storytelling people, I'm like, fucking another cliche sales story, another cliche, okay. It's even before they finish the story, I see where this is going. I see how you're trying to force. I see what you're trying to sell me. I can see that. I can smell that shit a mile away. Okay, so don't even try. The first thing you have to learn how to walk before you can run. Okay, so right now, what you need to be doing is you need to learn how to connect the dots in story and lesson, story and lesson, story and lesson. You just need to learn how to connect the dots. Once you get comfortable with that, tying it to your business is super easy. You know what I mean? So right now, if you're learning storytelling and the question you're asking is, how do I tie this story to my brand? How do I tie this story to my business? Don't even talk to me, because you're not going to. You won't be able to, because you're a baby right now. You're a baby in storytelling. And you're asking me, you're like literally a baby who doesn't even know how to say ABC. And you're asking me, how do I write a novel? You can't. You got to practice the storytelling first. Okay. Next. Okay, design with Dickens again. Hi, son. What type of content would you be posting if you were a graphic designer looking to attract clients without sounding vague like every other designer? Okay, that's a loaded question. It's a trick question, right? Because I wouldn't. I grew my entire agency without posting a single piece of content. So I wouldn't. If you really want to know the answer, because the way you get clients is not through posting up bomb-ass content. No client is following. None of my clients follow me, right? If your client is a CMO, if your client is a motivational speaker or something like that, you think those people are following web designers? No, they're not. So the short answer is no. You can't get B2B content through. You can't get B2B clients through content. Okay. The real answer is this. If you were in Night Owl Nation and you came to Sunday service this past week, you would already know the answer to this, right? So here's how. When most people go to a web design company will sell them like this. Oh, hey, like we started like this, and then blah, 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 and what they tell you is not a story. It's just it's a narrative of what happened. Oh yeah, we won this award and we did this and then we can't like there's nothing else. The way we sell it is like this. I always say myth and truth, right? Like the clients are here, they don't know this shit. I know this. So how do I do this? This is what I do. The story that I know is that our agency, Night Owl, we're small and we work tight together, right? Our designer, our developer, and our copywriter, we all work tight together, right? In other companies, they're separated. It goes from design and then goes to the development, copy, and then design, development. They're all siloed, right? So if I just say that, the client's gonna be like, oh, so so what? Like, so what? You guys work in the same room. So what? You're a designer and developer work close together. Why does that matter, right? Well, this is why it matters. Do you like this website that we did with this animation and story? And you want a website like that, right? Here's what happens. Remember, like last time you hire a web designer, what happened? You hire a designer, came up with a good design, you approved it, and then went over to the developer, and the developers coded it, and the developers found out, oh shit, I can't actually make that happen, blah, blah, blah. When the developers are done, they give you the website, and you're like, oh shit, that doesn't really look like the design looked better, but now that it's actually live, it doesn't look that good. The website doesn't look as good, right? And then that's how it becomes, and that's the same experience that every client has had. So I tell that story first. And then I say, imagine this. Our copywriter comes up with the story. And they're sitting in the same room with the designer. And the designer goes, oh shit, I love that story. Oh, you know what I can do? I can actually bring in this animation and these objects, and then we can try to animate the story like this. And when they do that, the developer's like, oh shit, you know what? We can also connect it to an API and we can try to bring in these things, and then we can create these animation here. And then, and the designer's like, oh, you can do that? Oh, then let me design this. And the copywriter's like, oh, that's awesome. Then I think we should write it like, okay, at this point we should write the copy like this. So when the three of them are sitting in the room together and doing that, that's the kind of website that we create. That's why our websites look amazing compared to those other websites. Okay. Now that I say that, then the client's gonna be like, oh, I get it now. Okay. So, but if you think that some magical content is gonna give you leads, no. If you're a designer, mark my fucking words, okay? If you're a designer, copywriter, any kind of freelancer, and if you're any kind of creative freelancer, like a writer, designer, video editor, whatever it is, and right now you're not getting bombarded with leads, like if you're not turning away leads every day, I can only say one thing to you: you suck. It means you shouldn't be working on sales. You shouldn't be working on content. You should be trying to get a lead. You should be working on your skills, your design skills, your writing skill. Whatever your skill is, that's what you need to be working on. Because I know a lot of designers. I know a lot of video editors. I know a lot of copywriters, okay? Everyone that I know is good, has zero problem getting clients. Their problem is that they have too many clients that they have to turn away. So I've never met a talented designer. I've never ever met a talented freelancer who said, I have problem getting clients. So if you have problem getting clients, I have one answer for you. Become awesome. Then you'll never have problem getting clients, okay? Next. Okay. Fekuv Viege. What's question I need to answer to have a good story? In order to have a good story, you just need those four things. The four things I said, right? Transformation of the character. Is there old you versus new you? Because a lot of people tell like this. As an Asian American male, I always had to work harder and I had to prove myself. So this one time, I went to this car dealership and everyone was looking down at me, like underestimating me. But I overcame that, and I just, I spoke my truth, and I had confidence, and okay, where's the old you versus the new you, right? I posted this the other day, right? Somebody on Twitter, told this story. Okay, this is the exact story that somebody told. I saw. It was like, when I was young, none of the other kids wanted to play with me because I was weird. But it didn't bother me. I just found all the other kids that those same kids didn't want to play with, and we made our own tribe. So what's the lesson? Find your own tribe. Okay, where's the old you? Where's the new you? The reason why that story is not good is like kind of boring, but like what? Is because it's not vulnerable. It's a sob story, right? It's like you're playing the victim. You're like, oh, I was always dope, and I'm still dope. Okay, where's the fucking story, right? It just sounds like most stories sound like that. Every piece of content that I see, like 99% of content that I see on social media, like Instagram and Twitter and shit like that, they all sound like that. They all sound like you're just fucking showing off. Nobody's talking about the vulnerable side. Everybody's showing up. I never care. I don't give a shit what everyone thinks. I'm gonna find my own tribe. The lesson: find your own tribe. It sounds like you're a victim. It sounds like it sounds like it's me against the world. You're not taking any responsibility for yourself, right? And maybe there's a reason why nobody wants to hang out with you. So you need to dig in, because if there's no old you versus new you, unless there's that transformation of character, you were always winner and now you're still a winner. That's not a story. Okay? All that sounds like is you're just complaining. That's what it sounds like. Or it just sounds like, oh, look how dope I was born dope and I'm still dope. That's what it sounds like if there's no transformation. So that's what really makes a good story. Okay. I'll answer this one. Next. Gift to K. Hi, Sam. Which form of content can help a storyteller get better? Long form or short form? Which would you suggest? I would say short form. This is what I always say. If you can't tell your story in 3 sentences, you don't have a story. So first, I need you guys to get, within 30 seconds, you should be able to tell a story. I'm going to go over the 4 parts again. Even before you can write a 10-minute story, 30-minute story, 2-hour movie, you have to be able to pitch that story to me in 3 sentences. The old you, I used to be like this until this happened, and then I learned that the truth, right? I learned that blah. So the myth, the example, and the truth. I used to be like this until this happened, and now I learned this is the truth. So unless you have those 3 things, you don't have a story. So you should be able to tell that just in a matter of 30 seconds, right? So I would say get focused on telling the 30-second version of your story, because then you're really getting good at just finding the structure of the story. And once you're good at finding the structure of the story, we can add all the bells and whistles later, okay? Okay, here are the 4 parts. 1, transformation of character. Unless there's a before you and after you don't have a story, okay? 2, the 5 seconds of conflict. A lot of people tell stories like this, right? Oh, like I saw this movie Cowspiracy, and then like 2 years passed, and then and then I went to this dinner, and then I was moved, and like, no, what? I want to know the 5-second moment. Like, oh, I walked in, and I just looked around, and everybody was ordering vegan except us. That exact moment is when I realized, oh, shit. I'm like, oh, I actually want to be vegan or something like that, right? But there has to be that 5-second moment, right? If you don't have a what, when, where, and with who, you don't have a story, okay? You need one lesson of the story. So a lot of people go like this, like kind of like when I asked Britt what her lesson was. Like, oh, the lesson is that vegetarian is not the way, it's the vegan because blah, 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 and they go on and on and on and on and about, because a lesson ties to, like, for example, if I talk about perfectionism, I might be like, oh, the reason why you have a perfectionism is because of ego, and when you drop your ego, then it's going to be, like, perfectionism is also tied to overthinking, and overthinking is tied to your ego. Ego is like the fear of judgment, the fear of I understand. I understand that every lesson is tied to, you can go on forever. That's you just word vomiting. That's you just, the rambling. I need to know you need to cut off after that one lesson. So the single lesson. And finally, unbiased myth. So somebody was telling me a story like, oh, you know how everyone thinks yoga is really hard? Okay, maybe there are a few people that thinks yoga is hard, but in general, everybody thinks yoga is easy. You know what I mean? So if you're talking about a myth, the old you or the myth, it has to be something that everyone agrees. It can't be biased. Just because you think it's true, that doesn't mean everybody else thinks it's true. Okay? So whatever myth you're telling, whatever the old you version you're selling, everyone has to agree with that. Okay. So 4 things. Transformation of character, before an old you and the new you. The 5 seconds of conflict, what, when, where, and with who. There has to be one lesson of the story, not just word vomiting like story after lesson after lesson after lesson. And it has to be unbiased myth, meaning people agree with that myth. You're not the only one who thinks so. Okay. Next question. Okay, I'm not going to accept your request unless you're a Night Owl Nation member, because that's just going to be at Night Owl Nation, we've already went through this exercise over and over and over and over and over again. So when people tell a story, we can kind of figure out where the structure is wrong and things like that. But if I bring you on right now and you're not a Night Owl Nation member, I know what you're going to do. You're going to come on and you're going to tell me your whole life story. But like, oh, you know, I used to be, when I was a child, I used to be like this. And you're going to tell me your whole fucking autobiography of your life story, which is not a real story, right? And that's the biggest problem that we have. So I'm not going to bring you up if you're not a Night Owl Nation member. Okay, next story. Next question. Adventure of 3 asked, which best place / platforms to keep the pulse for your niche? I would say it's the platform that you use the most, because like if you don't enjoy using the platform, you're not going to enjoy having conversations. But in general, right? So far, I've been using TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. I used all 4 of this platform from the perspective of a user. And I'm going to tell you what the difference is. 4, right? So Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Instagram is filled with people that are coaches, therapists, spiritual people, more design, creative oriented people, like visual creative oriented people. So what I notice is that the content like that does well on Instagram are the content that are more visual, that are pretty, right? That are like, more aesthetically pleasing, right? And also the lot of those kind of like spiritual, like, spiritual content, like, or therapy content, like the self-help type of that type of self-help content, those type of content does well on Instagram, right? So if you're a coach, if you're a therapist, if you're a freelance designer or something like a freelancer, or you teach design or something like that, Instagram is probably a good platform to have conversation on. What are people talking about, right? YouTube, I think I think if you want to do really like teach and you really want to dig in deeper and get real audience, YouTube is the place. Like, if you can't grow on YouTube, that means you're not really growing on audience. It's so fucking easy to grow Instagram. It's so fucking easy to grow TikTok. It's so fucking easy to grow TikTok. It's not that easy to grow YouTube. It's not that easy to grow, because YouTube and podcasts are long form content. So unless you're really good, unless people really resonate with your content, you're not going to be able to grow YouTube, or you're not going to be able to grow a podcast. Like, so on YouTube and the podcast, you actually really have to be good. You can't just bullshit it, and you can't fake it till you make it, okay? So I would say YouTube is the real testing ground. If you want to fuck around and find out if you're really good or not, I would say YouTube is the place, right? TikTok, I think, in my opinion, I think TikTok is still a little bit farther away if you want to run this type of client service business or this educational product, this type of business on TikTok. It's still, I think, it's still in the beginning days. I don't think it's I don't think it's there yet, because the type of people that make money on TikTok are the influencers still, that has huge audience, and they do brand deals where, that's how the money is made. And TikTok, nobody's going to TikTok for self-help advice, and nobody's going to TikTok to find out, like, get marketing advice and shit like that. People are going to TikTok to just fucking, turn off the brain and watch some funny shit, and it's still like the early days of Instagram. So yeah, I'm not really focused on TikTok anymore. But I do still make content on TikTok, because in TikTok it's so easy to grow on TikTok, right? And also I think TikTok really, the type of content that works on TikTok are always the ones where I'm just holding the camera and just me being real. TikTok is like really, you can't bullshit on TikTok, in this fucking self-help world, in this personal development world, in this marketing education world, it's basically a big fucking circle jerk, okay? It's everybody just kissing each other's ass. Oh, amazing, good, oh, awesome, oh, good, thank you for, like, it's all everybody just kissing each other's ass. That's what this space is, right? That shit is not gonna fly on TikTok, okay? TikTok, these fucking kids will smell that shit a mile away, okay? So TikTok, like, you really need to be authentic. And if you try to post these fucking perfectly edited motivational videos on TikTok, that shit is not going to work, okay? Okay, so Twitter is the one that I've been kind of really actively using in the last 2 weeks. And it seems like, for me, so far, this is what I see. Twitter is filled with tech bros, tech startup people, VCs trying to get funding, software engineers, and copywriters, some sort of writers. So that's where I've been spending a lot of time, and I actually have been having a lot of fun. So if you're a copywriter, you should be on TikTok, right? If you're any kind of in tech space developer, you should be on TikTok, because that's where they live, right? Not TikTok, Twitter, right? Because that's where they live. The big difference is, like, on Instagram, it's hard for you to create content on Instagram unless you're a designer, or unless you're a photographer, or unless you can create something visually, right? On Twitter, the learning curve is much less, because if you know how to type, you know how to write, you can make content, right? And Twitter is much more conversational. So I realized that, like, when I'm on Twitter, the only time people find me, and the only way people find my content, and the only way people follow me, is when I'm engaging with other people's content. Like, as soon as I start leaving comments and blah, 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 leaving my 2 cents, then I start getting views and followers. And once I stop getting views and followers. So that's kind of actually same for Instagram too. Like, if you're just, all you're doing is just posting content, and you're not consuming or getting involved in the conversation with other people, you're just not going to be able to grow. Okay. Shit. Next question. SAMA. Is it possible to write copy and story without non-dual language type, right and wrong, good and bad? I don't know. I mean, you can, I guess. Here's what I think. Okay, I don't even know if this is the question you're asking, but I had a really, really deep conversation with one of our members on this podcast. And one of the things that we talked about is ChatGPT, right? And the thing is, here's the reason why I don't think that ChatGPT can make good content yet, okay? And the biggest difference is that it comes down to morality, okay? It comes down to opinion. Because if you want to talk about facts, evidence-based, if you want to talk about data and all of that shit, every content is going to sound like this. Oh, is ChatGPT? Oh, it could be good, but it can also be bad. Oh, is it better to be an introvert or extrovert? Oh, it could be good, but it can also be bad. And they're gonna give you the nuanced answer, right? Oh, under this scenarios, this is but in other days, blah 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 blah, right? Okay, is long form content better or is short form content? Oh, and this kind of blah blah blah. Like, everybody is nobody wants to piss anyone off, right? No, everybody wants to be safe. Everybody was like, oh, I don't want anyone to judge me. I don't want anyone to hate me. So I'm going to be careful. Oh, I want to say, oh, no, I can't say that. Because if I say that, those people are going to hate me. Oh, if I say that, these people are going to hate me. So I need to keep my balance, and I need to please everyone. If you make content like that, no wonder you're not getting any views. Because nobody wants to fucking hear that shit. Nobody wants to hear some nuanced answer of like, oh, nobody wants some fucking long ass Wikipedia answer that says, oh yeah, it's good in this kind of scenario, but it's bad in this kind of scenario. So you really have to look at the context and you have to blah, 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 blah. Nobody wants that shit. Everybody wants like, oh, it's this or it's this, right? Everybody wants that polarity as much as dangerous that is. Like, I mean, which I hate. But if you want to grow and if you want audience, that's what it's going to be. And what does that come down to? Your personal opinion. Like your personal opinion. You have to double down on what you believe is like, for example, I believe that if you sell a $3,000 course and you have no live component to that course and it's just a pre-recorded course and that's it, I believe that's a fucking scam. And I feel strongly about it. It's not like, yeah, but it's okay in this kind of sense. But, no, I'm not fucking beating around the bush here. I'm not tiptoeing around anyone, okay? If you're selling a $3,000 course and there's no live component, it's just a one-way pre-recorded course, you're a fucking scam artist, okay? Yeah, there I said it. That's my opinion, okay? Am I right? Am I wrong? I'm right for me. Okay, so you have to have the reason why people follow you. The reason why people want to listen to you is because they agree with your opinion. Okay, ChatGPT could never, ever, ever, ever have an opinion because ChatGPT is a fucking robot, and the reason why they can't have an opinion is because they don't understand morality. There's no morality there. In order for you to have an opinion, you have to know, you have to have some sort of a moral compass that says this is good and this is bad. One is good and there has to be that. Without that, you can't have an opinion. And without opinion, you can't really make good content. And that's the reason why I don't think ChatGPT can ever make good content. Okay, another question. Gift UK, as a brand storyteller, can I just tell normal stories or is there something extra I have to do? I personally think that you should just keep telling stories. Keep telling stories, keep telling stories, keep telling stories. Keep every day come up with story, tell it, try to figure out what. And over time, you come talk to me after you told 100 stories. Okay? Like if you haven't even really told any stories and you're like, oh, should I tell this kind of story? Should I do this? How do I tell? No, you're not even at the point where you can come ask me those kind of questions, right? Come ask me those questions after you've told 100 stories. Okay? So, yeah. Look at my account, right? I'm teaching marketing and fucking shit like that. And you see videos of me talking about how I gave food to the homeless person. What the fuck does that have to do with my business, right? Or I talk about how my mom how my mom like forced me to stay up all night doing the homework. What the fuck does that have to do with my business, with my brand, with what I'm teaching? Nothing. Like most of the stories that that I talk about has nothing to do with my business. I tell it anyway. Eventually, you're gonna be able to connect it. How to start? That's an easy. Since you asked such a generic question, I'm gonna give you a generic answer. Just start. Because everything starts with courage. Everybody's like, oh, just be confident. Oh, just have confidence, right? Okay, how? Where do you think that confidence comes from? Confidence comes from competence. You're never, ever, ever going to be confident unless you've done it before and you know what I mean? So before confidence, first comes courage. Okay? So unless you have the courage, yeah, it's scary. I know it's scary. I know it's scary to turn on that video and listen to your cringe voice and hit post. I know that's scary. I know that, talking about your opinion and then hitting posts and then like worrying about people like judging you and people like coming at you. Like, I know that's scary. It's scary because you've never done it before. And you're never, ever, ever, ever gonna get over that just by sitting here waiting for the day you become confident, because that day will never, ever, ever come. First step always starts with courage. blind faith. Be like, oh fuck, I'm scared, but I just gotta close my eyes and just jump in. And then it gets easier, gets easier, gets easier. And then by here, now you have confidence. Okay, Wolf. Have you ever had an employee or student completely change your mind with one story? Yeah, I think almost every time somebody changed my mind was through a story. I mean, I can't think of like one good example, but every time I changed my mind, it's because of some sort of a story. And also another thing is this. I know I sound like I have like strong opinions, and I'm like, no, this is bad. This, blah, blah. I know I sound like I have strong opinions. Like for example, I say if you sell a high ticket course that is just pre-recorded course, that's not a live component, then you're a scam artist, right? I'm pretty strong about that, right? But if somebody can prove me wrong, if you can tell me a story, if you're gonna tell me something to prove me wrong, I will change my mind just like that. Like I don't double down on my ideas like, oh, it's do or death, okay? I don't mind changing my mind just like that. I guess I was wrong. Fine. But you're gonna have to convince me of that, right? And the only way you're gonna be able to convince me of that is by breaking that myth and truth for me. But I mean, I'm completely open. Actually, I'm gonna actually end with this because it's 7:00. If you didn't understand any of this, everything that we talked about today, I talk about it in detail at Night Owl Nation. So I highly, highly, highly suggest you join Night Owl Nation. It's fucking $5 a month, okay? Like you're sitting here asking me these questions, blah 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 blah, that we're always talking about in Night Owl Nation already. So why don't you join? You can get all the answers. You want access to me? You want access to answers? You have questions that you want to answer? We have small group leaders. Just fucking join Night Owl Nation. You get all the answers you want, okay? But here's what I'll say. You know where my confidence comes from? You know when I fucking go on Twitter and I say, fuck this, fuck that, no, you're wrong, this is wrong, this is a scam. Do you know how I'm able to do that? Do you know why I'm so convicted? Do you know why I'm so convinced? I have so much confidence, like I can fucking say that shit like I mean it? It's because I'm not scared of changing my mind. I'm not scared of saying, oh, fuck, I was wrong. It's because everybody thinks that, oh, if I say something, then that's set in stone. I could never change my mind, so I need to be careful about what I say. That's the reason why people are fucking not convicted. But if you understand in your mind, if you understand that you can change your mind anytime and you're okay, I can be gung-ho about this. I can be 100% sure about this right now. And then tomorrow, I'm like, oh, actually, I've done that so many fucking times at my agency where one of my employees will come to me and say like, son, but last week you said this. I'm like, oh, fuck. You're right. I was wrong. I was wrong last week. I changed my mind. Like, that happens. Okay? And that's the reason why I'm so gung-ho. That's the reason why I can talk about it convicted and like it's 100% truth. Because tomorrow I can say, if you prove me wrong, if you give me a fucking myth truth, if you tell me a story, you prove me wrong and you convince me, I have no problem going like, oh fuck, I was a fucking dumbass yesterday, I was wrong. I have no problem doing that. The reason why you can't do that is because your ego is stopping you. Your ego created this identity and says, oh no, I can't. If I admit that I'm wrong, then people are not gonna think I'm an expert anymore. Oh, if I admit that I'm wrong, then I lose my authority. Like that's that bullshit ego that's getting you to stop. Like, should I say this? Should I not say? No. Okay, I'm gonna end it here. Hopefully, I'm gonna try all different time for live. I'll ask them to figure out like, when is a good time for everyone for live. But I'll end it with this. Everything we talked about on this live today, we talk about it all the time in Night Owl Nation. If you really want all your answers, I guarantee you this, okay? I can fucking guarantee you this. You can pay $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, join all those fucking programs, join all these expensive programs. You're not gonna get access to that person. You're not gonna get access to that teacher, okay? Night Owl Nation, I'm accessible. Our small group leaders are accessible. We actually fucking care. We actually show up and we actually try to help because we care. We care about the students. We care about their improvement. So you're never, ever gonna find any membership, any program, any course that's like now Night Owl Nation. So if you haven't joined, you are definitely missing out, right? Like it's you have no idea how much you're losing by not joining Night Owl Nation. That's where I'll end it. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you guys next week. Bye, everybody.